Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Good morning on the new year. It's 2023. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So today I wanted just to take some time to speak to people that are thinking of entering within the logistics or tracking business, right? So I've been in the trucking business with mining and logistics for over or close to a decade now. So there are a few things that I want us guys to note before you actually go out there and you buy a truck, right? Before you just go out there and you buy your assets, you get your truck, there are a few things that I would like us to talk about that you need to note. Number one, you need to understand the trucking industry. You know, trucks, they look beautiful, they look sexy when they're on the road, especially the big ones, the 4-ton side tippers, they look good, right? But there are a lot of work in terms of managing. So you need to understand why do you want to get into trucking, right? You need to understand the pros and cons of being into trucking before you actually get into that particular industry. So that's one thing. Ask yourself, why do I want to get in? What do I understand about the industry? And what do I know? If you find that you don't know much, please just take your time to actually learn what does it entail to be in the logistics or to be in the trucking industry, right? Because I've learned the hard way when I started many years ago within the sector, right? So that's why I'm sharing things that I wish somebody would have taught me, or things that I wish I knew before getting started within the trucking industry. And then second of all, trucks works in different sectors. So before you go out and you buy a truck or so forth, just firstly know which sector do you want to enter into. There are trucks within the mining sector, there are trucks within construction, there are trucks within retail. So which industry you want to enter into? There are trucks that are running in the harbor and so forth. So don't just go out there and acquire an asset without understanding in which particular industry you want to enter into, right? So that is very crucial, because how trucking works within the mining sector, it's totally different how trucking works within the construction sector. It's totally different how trucking works within your retail. So if you see trucks that are carrying whether drinks or whatever, food, it's a totally different industry. So if you're getting into trucking, you are getting into a certain industry, and you need to understand that particular industry. That's why it's important before you spend your money to acquire the assets, to actually get someone, whether a coach or like myself and so forth, to actually sit you down and understand which industry you want to enter into. But I could say that also trucking can be a good way to tap into an industry. That's how I started in terms of trucking, because I wanted to actually get into mining directly. My goal was to own a mine that is owned by a group of ladies, black ladies. But for me, when I looked at the value chain of mining and the cost of actually starting off, registering with the Department of, the DMR and so forth, the cost of it and also the work, then I looked at the value chain and said, okay, I'm going to start with this particular component, because for me, trucking was a lower hanging fruit in that particular structure. So that's how I got into the mining sector, right? And then later, then I got into the construction sector, also through the trucking. And then also I've got work that is running also within the hub. So know which industry you want to enter into, because if you understand which industry you want to enter into, then you'll understand what type of truck you need to acquire. There are different trucks, right? For example, in the mining, your single diff will not work. So you need to understand what is a single diff, what is a double diff, right? You need to understand which truck is able to carry, the big trailers as well, which will fit within the mining, which might not fit within the other sector, right? If you want to get into construction, most of the trucking that they use, those are 10 cube back tippers. Whether they use 10 cube or 6 meter cube, they will tell you which one they actually need. So before you go out there, you spend your money, you get the assets, understand those different things, because they link into which other assets you actually get into. I've seen a lot of people that have like trucks who have just given up. Trucks are sitting within their yard. because they're saying, you know what, this sector is very difficult and so forth. But it's because of not having, you know, a mentor or a coach to actually sit with you to say, to ask these critical questions. The why are you getting into the trucking industry? What sector do you want to get into through you know, with the trucking or the logistics component? And also then understanding yourself. Why is it important to understand yourself? Because different sectors, they operate differently. For example, if you are a person that does not want to work 24/7, believe me, you do not go near the mining sector, because most of the mines, they run in 24 hours, and in the middle of the night, 12 p.m., you know, 1 a.m., the driver will call you and say the truck has a, you know, has a problem, and I'm stuck within the N3, halfway to Richards Bay, moving from maybe from Joburg or from Mpumalanga or from Northwest, carrying chrome or coal. They are stuck there, and you need to make a plan. Then it becomes your responsibility to actually make a plan, right? So if you are not the kind of a person that wants to work 24 hours, certain sectors in terms of trucking will become very frustrating for you, and you will think that the industry is actually not working for you, whereas it's the kind of the sector or the kind of the trucking sector that you actually chose to enter into. For example, if I sit down with a person and they say they want to enter into the trucking industry, so I look at those things like why they want to enter. So I want to understand you, right, as a person. Say, how much time do you have for you to actually work to monitor your driver? If you're starting off with 1 or 2, do you have time to actually monitor your driver, right? Do you have time to actually attend to calls 24/7? If not, then maybe a construction tracking would be better for you, where then it runs during the day, whether they're starting, whether it's 6 up until 5, and after that, you know that the truck is parked until tomorrow, right? Even the radius counts, because with the construction tracking, what happens is your truck travels within a short radius, so it's easy to control. Even if you have breakdowns, you just send your guys to your mechanics to come and fix the truck. It's within the radius where they are working. Whereas when you're now talking about the mining sector, where, you know, commodities are being transported through different provinces, moving maybe from the northwest, moving maybe from you know, Joburg, whether they're moving from Mpumalanga to Richards Bay or to Durban Harbour, you know, you don't have much control where there are breakdowns and so forth, right? So you need to understand yourself. So when someone is saying to me, I want to get into trucking because I just want to start a business where I don't have to, you know, have a headache. I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. Then I ask themselves, do you really think that trucking is for you? Because there could be a lot of headache when it comes to trucking, right? It's not just the managing of the assets. And also outsourcing is not good, and we will talk about that, why outsourcing, you know, from the outright when you're starting off is not good. You can't just shy away from knowing what is happening, because you need to know more than your drivers as well, right? So we've seen a lot of trucks currently being involved in different accidents and so forth. Obviously there are different you know, things at play why those accidents happen and so forth, but the real you know, thing that you need to do is to monitor your drivers. Some drivers, you find that when they are supposed to stop at a certain truck stop so that they could actually rest, when they get to those truck stops, they don't actually rest. And then when it comes time for them to actually move and get on the road, they are tired because they didn't get enough rest. It's not because the trucking company did not give them enough time to actually rest. Yes, at times it could be true that maybe they're not been given enough rest for them to actually get on, to be on the road when they're feeling all fresh. But your drivers can make or break you when it comes to the trucking industry, because they are the ones who are using your assets regularly. So in way that they ride or they drive in your truck or your assets to the way that they manage when they get to the sites where, you know, to take the commodity, where how they interact with the operations manager of they can make or break. So have a good relationship with your drivers, but also have strict rules as well, which they sign off, right? They sign off from the beginning to say these are the rules, you don't do this on the road and so forth. So if anything happens on the road with your driver, you know that you are covered. You're able to say, but I did educate my drivers on A, B, and C, that they know that they were not allowed to do A, B, and C. As a company, you are able to show that. But what is important is then you as an owner also of the truck, whether you still have one or two, you know more than your driver. So when you get allocated a job, let's say you get a job maybe to move a commodity maybe from Mpumalanga to Durban, or Mpumalanga around Mpumalanga, right, a province. Go and drive within those within that route. If it's a 260-kilometer drive, drive within that route so that you understand the routes that your driver will be taking. So you are able to also advise that use this particular route. Do not diverse without talking to me to use another route, so that you know where your drivers are at all times. And having a tracker is not an option. It's a must when you have an asset such as a truck, so you know exactly where your asset is, you know exactly when your driver is moving. Some of the trackers now, they even show you the speed that they're actually moving. So you have those things and you are able to monitor. So outsourcing from the beginning when you have a truck is not a good thing, because you still need to learn the ways, and you know your ways in terms of the logistics. It takes away the learnings, right? It takes away the learnings. I see you, leadership Vusi. Hi, leadership. My coach Tulani. Hi, leadership. Good to see you guys. So another thing is, be very, very, very careful where you actually buy your trucks. Be very, very careful. I learned that with my partners as well that we've partnered with. We learned that a hard way, right? I remember this one time we bought a truck, right, that was going to work within the construction site. It came from Joburg. We bought it through auction, online auction. It's a nice truck. It has a good engine and so forth. And so it was supposed to move from Joburg to come to me here in Durban, and then it was going to work here in Durban. And when it was just a few corners away from my house, it broke down. We just bought that particular truck. So the first time I actually saw the truck, it was when I was with now the mechanics going to the actual truck. So now the truck needed to be fixed. It did last all the way from Joburg, but with the first time it got here in Durban, then the truck, you know, had a problem. It needed to be fixed. And from that day on, it would work. It will need to be fixed, work. So it will bring in money, take out money, bring in money, take out money. So that's it. That's why most of the people that have also trucks, you'll find that they just park their truck and say, you know what, this thing is too costly. Why? It's because of those things, because it's not having the knowledge on what to look for when you're actually buying a truck. So I learned that the hard way, and now I know exactly what to do when you're buying a truck. And make sure when you're going to buy a truck, especially the second hand, right, you don't go alone, or you don't go with your friend, or you take a mechanic with you. A mechanic will be able to identify problems that you won't be able to see. So a mechanic is your friend. A mechanic is key to actually take when you're going to buy a truck. Even if it means you're moving from one province to another with your mechanic, you're paying for their accommodation, but it will save you a lot of headache in the long run, because anything within the trucking sector costs money. Anything within the trucking sector costs money. If your truck breaks down, it's thousands to fix even a single thing, whether it's a tire, whether it's a what. I see you, Sebe. Hi, Sisi. Sebe is one of the people that actually services also my truck. She has a tire company specializing in trucking, so she's doing very well in that regard. So that's how we got to know each other as well. So she's doing well in that regard, providing us with that particular services. Because remember, you're carrying a very high loaded commodity. Whether your truck is working within the construction, maybe it's carrying like river sand, it's carrying, you know, different things. So your tires, they weigh down. So you've got your diesel, which is your highest cost, and below diesel, your tires becomes your biggest cost as well. And because they need to be roadworthy, otherwise you're going to have a problem, as well as trucks are mostly monitored within the road. So those are the things that you really need to be careful of. So be careful when you're buying a truck. Be careful and understand yourself, so that you are able to pick the industry that really works for you when it comes to trucking, right? And also, guys, don't just go and buy a truck and say, okay, now I want to be in the mining sector. You go and you buy a head and also a trailer. Look at the options. Maybe you can buy a head and then rent the trailer, so that if you are changing the sectors, like for example the side tippers that are carrying coal and all those commodities, chrome, are those side tippers, right? What if now you are moving to another maybe a job that require you to buy to have a flatbed in terms of your trailer? So you look at those things. Do I need to buy the trailer? Do I need to what? Because if you're buying a trailer, it's a lot of money as well, right? So look at those things. Do I need to rent a trailer? Maybe buy a head and so forth. Look at those. Do your costing. Understand what your cost looks like. Understand what you're putting yourself into. And another thing that kills many people when they're starting off in terms of the trucking industry is the kind of contracts that they actually sign. The kind of contracts that people actually sign, right? So within the mining sector, when you have 1, 2, or 3 or 4 trucks, most of the time you don't get the direct contract with the mine, because they say maybe they're looking for people that have 5 trucks up to 10 trucks or even more. Then those will be able to be finished with a direct contract with the mine. So maybe you will have to subcontract, meaning now you don't have control, or even over your payment, right? So somebody else, if I've got the direct contract, so your trucks will be working under me, and the mine will pay me and I will have to pay you. So just be careful who you subcontract under. Make sure that the contract is stipulated and you are actually covered. Although sometimes some people, they don't care about paperwork, they don't care whether it's written in black and white in terms of the agreement. So make sure who you subcontract with, because that could kill your business. When it comes to payments, you might find that you are not being paid, and you can't go into the mine now and complain, because the mine doesn't know you as a subcontractor. They know their main contractor, right? Then the main contractor was supposed to have paid you your money. So those are the things that you need to look at. But the key thing, just understand why you want to get in, right? It looks good when the trucks are traveling on the road, but also just understand why you want to get in. Choose an industry that works for you. Understand different trucks as well, which works in which particular industry. Understand the different options as well. You'll find that some other companies, they will say, we'll provide the trailer, just bring the head, so you will save a lot of cost, whereas you have gone and bought the head of the truck and the trailer. So some companies, they look for that. Be specific, know which type of contracts you are actually looking for. Look at your time as well. Are you able to manage your fleet, or you need to outsource in terms of managing your fleet? But when you are starting off, it's better even if you have somebody that is managing your fleet, but also work close with that particular person so that you get to learn within the sector. Monitor your drivers closely, because they are the ones who are driving your business. They are the ones who are providing a service for you when it comes to your client. So whatever they do, then it reflects badly on you. Make sure that when you're going to buy a truck, make sure that you go there with one of your mechanics. So if it's a second hand, there are brands, guys, that you shouldn't touch when they are older than 3 years or 4 years and so forth. Even big companies, you'll see they will buy these new trucks, but then after 3 or 4 years they will change their own fleet, because they understand that the certain brands, what they get to 3 or 4 years, then their time is out. They will spend more in the workshop than they spend on the road doing the work that you want. So know those brands, and having someone to guide you in that journey. Know those brands and know which brands to actually avoid, right? And then trucking industry can be enjoyable, but you just need to know those particular things. And then also have relationship mechanics you need relationship with. If you're running long distance, you need to have the relationship with mechanics that are on your on your national road with the entry and so forth, because you can't take your mechanic wherever you are to go all the way halfway to Joburg just to fix an issue. So you need to have somebody that you can call on that particular side and also provide that particular service. So it's all about relationship, like any other business. Build relationship, and then your business will run smoothly. Lastly, learn to calculate, right? So when somebody is saying to you, this particular contract will give you 300,000 a month, Don't just, oh, 300,000, such a lot of money. Break it down and say, okay, in this particular route, there's what we call a CPK, cost per kilometer. You need to be able to calculate your cost per kilometer because it determines if the contract is good or not. Because if you look at just the money that has been mentioned, you think it's a good contract, whereas it's not, right? So learn to do those particular calculations, and also then learn to know, okay, look at the toll gates. Does that route have toll gates? Does that route, what does it have that will require money? Start calculating your diesel. Start putting money aside if you are having, the first 3 months, if you are having any issues, that mechanical issues that needs to be fixed. Because sometimes when you sign a contract with the mining company and then your truck breaks down, they give you a certain period of time, maybe a day or two, to actually fix it. If you're not, then they start applying what you call a penalty, where they will charge you maybe 10,000 rand penalty, for standing time and so forth, because now you are helping them to deliver to their clients. So now you are compromising their service by your truck being on in the workshop than being on the road. So make sure all those things are covered before you enter the sector, and you'll be good to go. But most of all, get advice before you actually even start, right? Thank you guys. Take care.